Introduce our next comic. She's out here repping the Big Apple, New York City. Give it up for Meg Patenaude.
I'm about to disappoint you all because I'm your first Catholic comic. There you go. Yeah, it's that time of year right now, and I think we all have a friend who's on the juice cleanse, right? Yeah. Problem is, there's no silent participant in the juice cleanse, right? Like, people always have to tell you about it, try to get you to do it with them. So I came up with this new thing called the friendship cleanse, where when someone asks me to shed a few pounds with them, I just shed a few friends. It's fall. It's fall right now. I know that doesn't mean anything in LA, really. It's about the same. But in New York, it's a really big deal. But I really have mixed feelings about the fall because my first memories of fall involve being shoved onto a hay wagon in the middle of the night while the man with a mask and a hacksaw came within 2 inches of my face and the wagon stopped and let him. You ever heard of this? This is called the haunted hayride. This is what people do in upstate New York for fun. And I was a 90s kid. There was no minimum age requirement for this. So my parents thought, 7, yes. Totally appropriate for this experience. Now, at the end of the hayride, they let you off at a corn maze, and they say, all right, now you have to go through the corn maze to be able to get back to your parents and be able to go home. I found a very big flaw in this system. Because if you were, say, traumatized by what you just underwent on the wagon, you might hide within the corn for hours and not come out. Credit to this place, though. They do send out a search party for you. And one would think, to the aid of a 7-year-old, you would send like the high schoolers who work in the back with the brightly colored t-shirts. But no, this place actually sends the monsters that just tried to kill you on the wagon. That's like sending Jaws to go find the lost swimmer. Oh, man, so I don't live in upstate New York anymore. I'm in New York City, and I'm actually the first woman in my family to ever live alone. Right? Yeah. Which means I'm the first woman in my family to ever master the self-administered Heimlich maneuver. Not for safety reasons. This is purely for pride, because I can't tell my parents that I moved to New York City to pursue my dreams and have them find my body 3 weeks later covered in goldfish with 50 First Dates on in the background. And people always say like, oh, you're a woman living alone in New York City. Do you feel safe? I'm like, yeah, this is the safest I've ever felt. Now when a murderer comes into my building, they have to go up an 8th floor walk up in order to get to me. New York City has been an interesting place, though. Whenever I first moved there, I was actually seeing this guy. I was at his place, and I went to go get like a towel from his closet, and there were just 50 decks of playing cards and a straitjacket. And I just kept thinking, serial killer or magician? Serial killer. I would have been much more comfortable with serial killer. Because he was a nice guy, but you just have to find yourself at a diner at 2 a.m. with 20 magicians once to start asking yourself some pretty serious life questions. Dating's hard, because you got your job schedule, you got your workout schedule. It's really difficult to schedule time to just hopefully not die alone. And there's so many places to make bad choices now, right? Because you got Tinder, it's meant for regrets. You got J-Date, but it's frowned upon when you're Catholic. Then you've got glutenfreesingles.com. Yes! That is right. There is a glutenfreesingles.com. Now, what that actually means is someone out there sat down and decided that gluten-free people should only date other gluten-free people. I don't think it was a gluten-free person who decided that. I think all the non-gluten-free people out there finally got organized and decided that no one should have to go without a drunk night slice of pizza unless medically required to do so. The only real problem I see with like a gluten-free person dating another gluten-free person is no one wants to be the breadwinner in that relationship. I always tell people I'm much more spiritual than religious, right? Not because I don't believe in religion, but because Catholicism and food allergies don't mix. Like for me, going up to receive communion is a dangerous game of Russian roulette. Like instead of the priest saying, "Do you accept the body of Christ?" he should be saying, "This body was blessed on machinery that also processes peanuts." And I've had an allergic reaction to the host in church before. And while I'm sitting there in the pew with my family suffocating, I'm like, what's the police report gonna say? Like, murdered by God. In church. Like, I've heard of divine intervention, I just didn't think God would send Mr. Peanut to do it. So I now tell people I am Catholic, but I have a very severe Jesus intolerance. I'm Meg Patenaude, thank you all so much for coming out tonight.